My name is Julie Samora, and I am a pediatric hand surgeon at Nationwide Children's Hospital and the current president of Ruth Jackson Orthopaedic Society. I am honored and humbled to present this video, a story of marginalization, how to create an open, diverse, equitable, and inclusive specialty. The story that you will hear is disheartening, but hopefully, as it has done for me, will drive a passion to be change agents, to work daily to improve our orthopedic work and learning environment. This project is a collaboration among many like-minded organizations, all who have as core tenets the desire to improve diversity and inclusion and enhance the overall culture in medicine. Most orthopedic surgeons are aware that we remain the least diverse specialty in all of medicine. In this video, a bright young medical student shares her story on why she chose to pursue a specialty other than orthopedics, even though she had early exposure to our field through the Nth Dimensions program, and even though she loved the clinical aspect of orthopedics. Following her story, these orthopedic leaders will weigh in, providing insights on how best to move forward to create a more diverse, open, equitable, and inclusive specialty. I would like to thank all of the organizations who supported this project, Rod Goldsmith, who helped to produce this video, and most importantly, the brave medical student who was willing to share her story. Maya Angelou said, "When you know better, you do better." This medical student has opened our eyes so that we know better, can be better, and can do better. Working together, we can affect positive change so that in the future, trainees of all backgrounds will feel welcome and included, and will be excited to be a part of our wonderful specialty of orthopedics.
I was recently asked to explain why I abruptly made the switch from orthopedics to a different surgical specialty when I was applying for residency. This is a testament of my experiences that shaped my decision. When I was starting medical school, I took part in the Nth Dimensions, the summer between my first and second year of medical school. I was ecstatic about orthopedics, and I made some of my closest friends from that program. We were all placed at different sites throughout the country, but we met up at the start and at the end of this internship together, and we presented at the program's end. We kept in touch with one another throughout the internship and beyond. Now, in particular with orthopedics, I was intrigued with the surgeries and the pathology. I loved the patient population, but the one thing that never seemed to settle well with me were the people of the field, unfortunately, the residents and the faculty. I never truly found my fit or my vibe. At first, I thought it was just at the institution that I went to medical school, so I decided to apply to an away rotation at a large urban hospital. But unfortunately, I felt the same thing there. The commentary, the remarks, the lack of the cultural and religious competency and understanding, the dehumanization of patients, often calling patients dumb for waiting too long to come in to see the doctor, or lazy for not losing any weight, referring to patients strictly by their BMI or calling them fat and chubby, amongst other things like this, or even remarking on their language proficiency or their accents, were something that just didn't sit well with me. Now, I am visibly Muslim, and my hijab as a Muslim woman speaks volumes about my identity. If you were to see my name, you wouldn't really guess or know anything about both my religion or my ethnicity, as it's pretty benign. But just based on the way that I look, I oftentimes feel very uncomfortable in these situations. Now, the things that the faculty and the residents would say and even ask about my religion proved that they really didn't know much, and they were not even willing to steer outside of their comfort zone and understanding of stereotypes to get to know similar or different religious backgrounds than their own. No matter how much I tried to put it beside me, it just continued to bother me. There were many instances in the OR where misogynistic comments, racist comments, sexist comments seemed to be on the agenda of the day. Now, the PD at this one site that I was rotating at was extremely understanding and accepting. I was able to have a pretty earnest conversation with him, and he addressed all of my concerns in a way that made me feel significantly more comfortable about applying to orthopedics. That being said, I took his word for it, and I decided to apply to another surgical subspecialty as well as ortho. But I was pretty selective about how I decided to even apply to these programs. I first looked at programs that were predominantly politically accepting. I looked at the states that these programs resided in, the location, whether or not they were urban. Then I looked at large urban cities, and then I narrowed it down to programs that already had female residents in this place. After that, I looked to see if they had both female residents and residents that were Black, Indigenous, or people of color. That substantially narrowed my list down to about 5 programs. From there on out, I tried to gauge how my co-interns would be based on the interviews when I was going on them. I reached out to some of my friends that I kept in touch with through Nth Dimensions and wanted their opinions, and many of them shared the same concerns as myself. We were all using similar criteria to apply to these programs, and we only applied if we saw residents that looked like us or came from similar backgrounds to us. Now, in all honesty, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel like I could succeed in a specialty where I would be dying through a million cuts. Even if the program was perfect and the people were outstanding and nothing like I had ever seen before, the culture of the specialty at its root, the culture of the specialty itself, deep down inside, were all lagging behind multiple other specialties, lagging behind specialties even outside of medicine. I couldn't imagine working as a resident for 5 years, where I would have to deal with death by a million cuts. Now, I went into medicine wanting to change the world. I know my actions as a single human being might not be that remarkable, but I want to make a difference. I want to be able to talk to my patients about their health and their social well-being, and I want to have an understanding of their culture, their socioeconomic status, their political ideology, and their health literacy. All of these are independent factors that could ultimately affect their relationship with health and healthcare providers. I want to be able to turn to my co-residents and faculty and talk to them about what it feels like to be a first-generation Muslim woman living in 2020 or 2021 America. What it feels like to be afraid for my Black friends from Nth Dimensions who match into programs in smaller cities or in rural areas. What it feels like to have friends who match in small towns away from home where they constantly face racism. I want to be able to come to work and not feel self-conscious about how my clothes fit, how I look with my hijab on, or what commentary I'll get if I'm wearing makeup or not. Honestly, it was quite a difficult decision for me. Whenever a patient comes in for an orthopedic consult, or whenever I see some of the staff that cross-cover with orthopedic surgeons, a little bit of the reminder comes back to me that that was not the field that I ended up in. I still love the pathology, and I love the research. I love all the potential for technology and advancements in the field of orthopedics. I think of all of the specialties, it is one of the ones that has such a future ahead of itself. But ultimately, it just was not the best fit for me, unfortunately. And for it to be, the culture would have to change drastically. But everything happens for a reason, fortunately. The program I matched at seems to have been created specifically for me. The residents themselves come from every single different background. Some are first generation like myself. Some are immigrants. Some are Black and brown. Many of the residents at this program that I'm at speak more than 2 languages. They are able to connect with patients in a way I have never seen before. They're all striving to learn more about patients' cultures and their backgrounds as well as their health traditions, in a way that helps shape every single one of these residents to be better physicians for the future. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one with a story like this, and I know personally of plenty others, but I do want to make and shed light on the fact that there are people who are switching their specialties strictly just because of how lagging the field of orthopedics is. I hope this gives you a better idea of why I decided to make the switch.
We need to stop the switch out of orthopedics. When hearing about this story, there are several thoughts and cliches that come to mind. One of the first is, you cannot judge a book by its cover. As physicians, we are privileged to take care of patients of many sizes, shapes, colors, and beliefs. We are also privileged to train the next generation of physicians. In orthopedics, we know that 94% of orthopedic surgeons are male, with the majority being white males. Wake up. There are others of different colors and shapes and sizes who want to be orthopedic surgeons. Think about how exciting it was when we first started medical school. Then we went through the first 2 years and finally entered the clinical years, becoming closer to realizing our dreams. We looked at orthopedic surgeons in awe. We looked at each and every one of you for acceptance, encouraging, and teaching. We look to you for opportunities and have the doors open and not shut, and surely not slammed in our face like happened to her. In addition, she brings up a great point. We need to remember to treat our patients with respect and as humans, not the way she observed. And when seeking out a residency program, she had to look at city size and political affiliation to feel welcome. Imagine not being able to choose a program based on program attributes. We must be welcoming. I ask you to open your eyes, ears, and soul to welcome others to join our profession who may not look like us. Think about it. We don't want to slam the door on a person that could be a future teacher, clinician scientist, innovator, educator. This person may be the orthopedic surgeon who takes care of one of your family members and surely remembers who opened the door for her. It's a small world out there, and let's not make it smaller because we judged a book by its cover because of our unconscious biases. Open the book and discover an aspiring orthopedic surgeon, and let's stop the switch.
I am deeply troubled as I read this account for multiple reasons. No one should be subject to this kind of discrimination. We need to respect every individual for the talents they bring and show compassion towards all. There's simply no room for prejudice of any kind in orthopedic surgery. Excellence is not determined by one's ethnicity, gender, religious persuasion, or socioeconomic background. We need to recognize the value that every individual brings to our specialty and respect them and embrace them. Indeed, diversity is important if we're going to build teams that represent not only the population that we serve, but bring various opinions and skill sets and talents into orthopedic surgery. We simply cannot continue to treat one another with the lack of respect and dignity that every individual is due.
When I heard your words, I heard the words of someone who was hoping that the specialty she loves so much would love her back and would make her feel welcome. Unfortunately, we know that's not what occurred. And we know that many medical students, especially those who don't fit the traditional white male stereotype of orthopedics, may have those same feelings. But the truth is that there are many mentors out there that are looking for people like you, that are waiting to encourage you and guide you into our field. And so for those students who are currently thinking of applying to orthopedics, who are reading or hearing these words, and who are unsure of whether they fit, know that orthopedics is a microcosm for American society. You're never going to ever feel like you fit, but that doesn't matter. What more so matters is, what do you think you'd be best doing? And if where you want to go does not quite seem to be what you want it to be, then join us in changing orthopedics from the inside out. I think that's the only way that we can really make a change.
This is a heartbreaking story and one that each of us needs to hear. It speaks to our ability as a profession to embrace diversity and inclusion. This medical student wrote that she didn't feel safe in orthopedics, that she felt that she would experience death by 1,000 cuts. What horrible feelings. For those of us who are parents, we would never want our child to enter a profession where they felt unsafe and unwelcomed. Yet, this is what this medical student felt. Some may respond that, she just isn't tough enough, too thin-skinned, way too sensitive. Better that she enter another profession. She will never make it in ortho. And for those who had that response, and I want to be honest and think that that would not be uncommon, I want to speak to what we lose as individuals and as a profession when these types of medical students don't join us. We lose so much. We lose the ability to make better decisions. We lose the opportunity to enrich our lives and become better doctors by learning about our patients and their background and cultures. But I want to focus on how the lack of diversity and inclusion increases our risk of making bad decisions for our patients and for our businesses. I want to share with you this picture. Please remember it. This is my son standing in front of a 1991 Acura Legend that I bought when he was 9 months old. And I bought this car because it had a passenger side airbag. Little did I know at the time, as no one knew, that these first generation airbags were going to kill children, women, and small men. So we could say, well, how did that happen? Did Detroit invest millions to create a safety device to kill children? I don't think so. Were the engineers who designed this safety device incompetent? Probably not. But the design team was predominantly male, and the device was tested on the standard passenger, an adult male. What if that design team had had more women? Would someone have said, hey, what happens if my baby's in the front seat and that airbag deploys? I think someone would have asked that question. We can only see the world through our own lens, based on our own experiences and culture and gender. Each of us have blind spots, just like the engineers who designed that first generation airbag. Diversity on our team strengthens us by addressing our blind spots. It helps us prevent tragic and even costly decisions like the airbag disaster. The next time you see a student who doesn't look like you, or a patient who doesn't look like you, think about the value that they bring to you. It's easier for us to do things that we see as in our own self-interest. And it's time that we truly recognize that diversity and inclusion is not just the right thing to do, it is the best thing for us to do as individuals and as a profession.
I would like to thank you for sharing your story. Unfortunately, this is a story that many of us who occupy diverse identities within orthopedics hear too often. In the past, minorities and women have often conceded that the burden to assimilate and ascend within our field required us to bear witness to discriminatory comments and actions directed towards ourselves, our peers, and our patients. That has to stop. Orthopedic surgery is a dynamic and wonderful and innovative field. We aim to attract the best and the brightest. However, we fail our applicants when the field is represented as closed-minded, exclusionary, and bigoted. We must do better. As orthopedic surgeons, we must hold ourselves and our peers to a higher standard, a standard that means zero tolerance for disrespect, bigotry, indifference, and intolerance to our patients, to our peers, to our residents, and our students. I hope we can all learn from your message that discriminatory actions and words can carry heavy consequences for those who bear witness. We must show that next generation of doctors that we are that dynamic and wonderful and innovative field that aims to make our patients' lives better. But first, to achieve that, we must be better to each other.
So while I read this letter, I'm not entirely surprised. And while now we are more aware of this, by having a team of members as such as the ones that you're going to be hearing from this panel, such as myself, looking different, being different, speaking differently, believing differently, doesn't mean that we all not have a love for orthopedics. There's no question that we need to take care of people of all different backgrounds. But also for our own future, we want to make sure that we represent all of those people, that those children that you're seeing today are able to identify themselves and maybe becomes the orthopedists of the future. So while I feel for you writing this, and while I have myself experienced a lot of this, I can tell you that in the last several years, there has been a change. People are changing, but change takes time. Please be patient. We are here. We are fighting for you, and I can tell you that orthopedics and the faces of orthopedics are changing. I can do it. Follow your heart. If you love orthopedics and this is what you truly want to be, there is a place for you here. Help us get to where we need to get to.
We need to stop the switch out of orthopedics and encourage men and women of all colors, cultures, and beliefs to join our field. When I was hearing this story, I was disappointed on many levels, and I was frustrated. I thought, how can this still happen? Sadly, no field is as bad as ours in terms of gender balance and diversity. 50% of medical students are now women, but only 6% of practicing orthopedic surgeons are women. We are missing out on a lot of talent. Only 1.5% of practicing orthopedic surgeons are Black, and 3 to 4% are Latino. This represents a nearly tenfold discrepancy from patient populations. It comes nowhere close to representing the patient populations that we treat. We need to and should want to attract others to orthopedic surgery who do not look like us. We want to encourage and warmly welcome medical students from different backgrounds to our incredible field. We have the privilege of working in the best field that there is, helping to alleviate pain and restore function, and to have the opportunity to teach the next generation of orthopedic surgeons. We have a responsibility to embrace diversity and to encourage students of diverse backgrounds to join our incredible field. This will not only make our profession better, but also improve our groups and practices and care for our patients. By increasing diversity in orthopedic surgery so that orthopedic surgeons better represent the patients that they treat, we not only improve the profession, but also improve the cultural care of our teams, as well as overall quality of care for our patients. I encourage all of you who are watching to enthusiastically welcome a medical student to orthopedic surgery who does not look like you.
We've always known that environments of exclusion have existed within our orthopedic surgery specialty. For every student that gets the opportunity to go to the operating room and see the magic that is orthopedic surgery, there are just as many students that are on the outside being dissuaded to going into orthopedics, or for even considering that orthopedics is something that they would be interested in because they don't fit the stereotype of what an orthopedic surgeon looks like to someone else. I was told that. I was told I wasn't smart enough or strong enough to be an orthopedic surgeon. These statements continue to be made to and about highly qualified, diverse students. This environment must change to one that is accepting of them in order for them to feel welcome. The leadership of our academy and the program directors of orthopedic surgery residencies must take a top-down, no-tolerance approach to racial insensitivity and misogyny to create a more welcoming environment for future orthopedic surgeons. It will take a group effort, both the majority and the minority working in conjunction with each other, all that truly buy into diversity and the excellence that it provides to our specialty, for us to push for significant changes. Only together can we work for the betterment of improving our toxic work environments and for the overall better delivery of care for all of our patients.
Reading the story of this young woman's decision to turn away from her dream and pursue a field other than orthopedic surgery because of how she felt she would be seen and how she felt she wouldn't be accepted in our profession is truly heartbreaking. This highlights the very fact of why we need to become a more inclusive specialty in order to better care for the communities in which we live. There is no question that mentors and role models are critically important to helping us realize our dreams. Our profession needs more orthopedic surgeons that represent the faces of our society. We need to change the way that our profession looks so that people we care for can see themselves represented throughout our profession. By changing the stereotype of what an orthopedic surgeon should look like, we can improve the care that we provide. We also need more allies who are not afraid to speak up. This process starts by being more diverse and inclusive about the people we recruit into our profession, and this in turn will help us transform orthopedics into a more just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive profession.
How can orthopedic surgery become more inclusive? Well, I think the number one way is to get more diverse medical students to come into the field, to pursue the field, and come out on the other side and then advocate for change. The number one way I think to do it is to tell more diverse medical students that orthopedic surgery needs you. We need you regardless of what you may have heard from, unfortunately, some naysayers who are unfair and outdated and hold outdated opinions. The truth is that this field needs you. It needs you to come in and be the change and then advocate for change and show other medical students then that, hey, if you can do it, they can do it.
Thank you for speaking up. It is so important that people who experience the kind of cultural insensitivity that you felt as a medical student are made aware of how the orthopedic culture discourages people and is non-inclusive, and why we have the difficulties with diversity that we do. Thank you for expressing your opinions, and thank you for reaching out so that we could make this video and help other people understand how difficult it is to come into our field and feel included. My name is Ann Van Heest, and I'm an upper extremity and hand surgeon at the University of Minnesota. I have been the residency program director for 21 years at the University of Minnesota. And when I first started in residency, there were less than 2% women. There were women who told me, you cannot be both a mother and an orthopedic surgeon. You must choose one or another. And that's what they had to do, sadly. But I felt like I want to change orthopedic surgery. And I felt like even though I didn't have others that looked like me, I could find allies. And I hope and I know that we do have allies within orthopedic surgery that can help mentor and can help change the color and the face of orthopedic surgery. Now women can be mothers. I had my first child when I was in residency, and it was difficult. And it's very hard to change culture, and it takes decades. But that's what I've spent decades doing. And I hope that as orthopedic surgery, that we can provide a way for hijabs to be accepted in the OR and for Muslims to be part of our orthopedic culture, and for females to be able to be orthopedic surgeons no matter their religion, no matter their color, no matter what they wear. You will find allies. You will find a specialty that has a fit for you. And if it didn't fit for you, I hope your words and actions can help make it a fit for the next medical student that comes. And hopefully they won't have to experience the same kind of lack of inclusion and insensitivity that you felt. Thank you.